Hey guys, welcome back to Day-Today Chess. This is Sabina. So happy to welcome you back on my YouTube channel. I have an announcement to make. From tomorrow, I will be starting to comment the World Chess Disability Championship. There will be a game commented on live, and then there's going to be 10 other games that I'm going to comment for the website of the tournament. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be a great event. It's the first of this type of commentary that I'm doing, so I'm very excited for it. Hopefully you will still follow me and enjoy the games and the tournament. Okay, in another order of ideas, let us go back to our usual stuff for today. I have chosen the game between Louis Paulsen, the strong German chess player who is known to have been a top chess player in the world between the 1860 and 1870s. He also mentioned that any brilliant attack would have failed against the correct defense, and this is an idea that William Steinitz got from Louis Paulsen and improved it, and it became a famous statement, let's say. Aside from that, Louis Paulsen has invented a couple openings, one of which probably the most famous one is the Sicilian Paulsen, which I hope you're all familiar with. Paul Morphy, well, what can I say about him? The genius from New Orleans. He was born in 1837 to a wealthy family, and why was he called a prodigy or a genius? Well, because at 6 years old, he started learning chess. He actually just learned chess by watching one game between his dad and his uncle. Once they finished the game, he replayed the game for them and even mentioned to them where they made the mistakes. So definitely one of the best, most impressive chess players for that matter of fact. At 12 years old, he defeated the Hungarian Johann Lowenthal either 2.5 or 3 out of 3. We don't know exactly what it was. Some people say the last game ended in a draw. Others say it was 3-0 for the young Paul Morphy, only at 12 years old, beating one of the best players in the world. That was definitely an amazing result. And between 1858 and 1862, people are saying that those are the times that probably he could have been a world champion. So unofficially, because the world championship had not taken place yet, he was one of the first unofficial world champions. Because at some point he stopped finding much opposition, he started playing games where he would just give away material, tell people, okay, with which piece you don't want me to play on the board, just take it off, and he would still play it and still win. So definitely a great talent, very famous for his brilliant tactics. We're gonna see one of his tactics today, one of the games that will probably never be forgotten. What I can say about both of these players, Louis Paulsen and Paul Morphy, both played blindfold games and blindfold simultaneous exhibitions. So 10 people blindfolded. Nowadays it might not seem like much, but on those times when chess wasn't as popular as it is today, and you didn't have that many people with whom you could practice, it's definitely an amazing performance by both of these players. So yeah, that was my short story before we start, like I already got you used to. Let us check out the game and see what happened here. So Paulsen went for the 4 knights, and now bishop b5. Here there are many possibilities for black. Bishop b4 is one of them, knight d4 is another possibility, but Morphy went for bishop c5. This seems to be one of the best, still played nowadays, by the way, over 150 years later. Bishop c5, castle, and I have to mention that here with after bishop c5 there is this other line that is popular here. Knight takes e5. Paulsen made this move a little bit later. Here it works as well, and knight takes e5, d4, forking the two pieces. Of course, we have to get our piece back. Now bishop d6, d takes e5, bishop takes e5. This position is quite alright for black. In case of after bishop d6, now d takes e5, another move is possible here. This f4 is another possibility here for white, you know, bringing another pawn to attack the knight and, you know, remain with a pawn up, but or more than a pawn. After knight c6, e5. This is what's the main deal in this position. But here we can play, for example, either bishop e7 or castle, and black's position is quite okay. Although there's rook e8 check, bishop e7 takes, and now there's a good move for white, this d5 that kind of blocks these pawns and maintains this bishop in c8. Kind of bad, but we've got this knight e7 followed by at some point b6 or a6, b5, taking out the bishop. Black should be doing all right here. Paulsen went for castle here in this position. Castle, and here he took in e5. But now Morphy did not recapture in e5. Probably he didn't want to enter in a similar variation as I showed you before. Nowadays, actually, they do capture. I've seen some games. Knight takes e5, d4, bishop d6, f4, and here I've seen this game with knight c6, e5, and here bishop b4, which I like it a little bit more, maybe that the line I showed you where you remain with these two blocked pawns on the d file. So it's quite playable for black, nothing to worry about. But Morphy played in his style. He just gave away the pawn, rook e8, in order to be able to, you know, finish his development a little bit faster. Now, if you just go back to f3, then I can just take in e4, and if you play d4, I would just capture in c3 intermediate move, and now bishop f8, with at some point the idea g6, bishop g7. You do have the center with white for the moment, but you also have these two double pawns, so this position is quite equal, I would say. There were some games played if you're interested in checking out this line a little bit more. Paulsen captured in c6 though. D takes c6, of course. This is kind of typical in the Ruy Lopez type of positions or e4, e5s to open up our bishop. Although we do get these double pawns, but what to do? You have no other choice. You have to get them double. So it's better to get it this way to have a better movement of the bishop on this diagonal than take with the b pawn. Now bishop c4. Maybe bishop e2 was a better choice for white, just because after bishop c4 it kind of helps black to play b5 here with tempo. And now bishop e2. White, by the way, cannot remain with the bishop on this diagonal because there could be some bishop b4 attacking the queen. And now when you play queen e1, because you cannot push that pawn, now there's b4. So you need to go back and look at this position. I mean, it's definitely much better for black. I finished almost all of my development, and you are stuck with 6 of your pieces, 6 out of 7 pieces on the last rank. Not a type of position you want to play. So bishop e3 would have been bad. Bishop e2, natural. Now knight takes e4. Morphy is getting his pawn back. Knight takes e4, rook takes e4, bishop f3, going for the skewering of the rook and the pawn and the other rook. So there's just one move in this position possible, rook e6 to defend the c6 pawn. And here Paulsen made a mistake. He played c3, which is not the move that I would recommend you to play in this type of positions. If you could play c3, d4, just somehow like that, without black utilizing the fact that after c3 you're totally weakening the d3 square, then I would say yes, play c3, d4. This is the best idea for white. You know, creating a nice chain of pawns here, blockading these double pawns. There won't be any possibility to play c5 because the pawn would be controlling. But because there's this chance, definitely c3 was a mistake. Instead, white should have gone for the equality here with d4 directly, giving the pawn, but just for a moment because c7 is weak, and after bishop e3, skewering the queen, you have to capture and trade the queens. Now there is a mate on the last rank hanging, so you have to go back with the bishop because the bishop was hanging as well. And now bishop f4, black is losing this c7 pawn, and this position is quite equal. So that was a safer bet for Paulsen, and probably the best one. After c3, queen d3, black starts to have quite a nice position and quite a clear attack on the king side, whereas white is not clear how he's gonna get his bishop from c1 out and to make sure it will do something. Because yeah, out he can get it by pushing b4 and taking it out, but how is he going to do next? Here he actually had to think of rook e1 to trade some pieces. Now c6 is hanging, so we have to find some way to defend that pawn. For example, bishop d7, and now maybe queen f1. Try to get away this annoying piece from here that's keeping you from developing your bishop in c1. But Paulsen failed to do so. He went for b4, and he had the wrong plan in mind. He played a4 here, thinking, now because there's this pin, I'm threatening one thing, to take in b5 and just make sure your pawn structure is going to be destroyed. But the main threat here is of course a5 and trapping the bishop. So what he overlooked probably was b takes a4 by Morphy, making his queen go very far from his king. Now he has 3 pieces on the other side of the board, whereas me, I'm ready. Rook can come to g6, this bishop can go to h3. I'm really ready for attack. This bishop in b6 is amazing here, putting pressure in f2. So here Morphy kind of didn't play the best moves. He had to play bishop b7, and the idea of bishop b7 is of course to bring that rook in e8, and in the same time I am controlling the a6 square, because as you can see with the queen a4, the queen is threatening some queen a6, trading the queen from d3, the most annoying piece in black's position that's annoying white, so he wants to trade that queen away. And here, for example, after bishop b7, we've got some other threat actually, where rook e8, and we're threatening to take the rook, and then rook e1 mate. And there's really no clear way for white to defend, so bishop b7 seems to be really kind of winning here because, for example, after queen d1, there's just rook e8, and now we're also threatening bishop a6, and you would lose one of the rooks. Instead of that, Morphy played bishop d7. Now the difference is that white had the chance to just clear up the position with queen a6. Black does not want to trade queens, of course, so if I just leave with the queen d4, the bishop will be able to get out, and white would be safe. But Paulsen missed the chance to play that immediately. He first played rook to a2, defending this pawn probably, to try to get the bishop out. And here after rook e8, we've got a clear threat, queen f1, rook e1. And after queen a6, supposedly defending that threat, comes Paul Morphy's brilliant move. Pause the video and make sure you find it on your own. The move was not trading, not moving the queen, but capturing in f3, simply winning a piece. You are forced to take back. Now rook g6 check, king h1. We need another piece to bring into attack. Bishop h3. The threat is bishop g2. Bishop takes f3 mate. Rook to d1. Where else? What else to do here? For example, if you'd play queen to d3. To try to threaten the rook, then I just play f5, and then I still have the same threat. If you give me one more check, I can simply go king to f8, and then I have the same threat. So there's no way for white to escape. After rook d1, bishop g2, check. Rook g2 probably would have finished the game much faster because rook h2, rook h1 comes, but okay, Morphy kind of missed the mate there. Again here, bishop e4 would have finished the game much faster, coming for a mate in h3, and now rook g1 for the mate. But he played bishop h3, and here's how the game ended. bishop d3, and white resigned. Stay tuned for more!